My name is Nancy Ruth Owens. When I was in the fifth grade, I attended Henry County's Clewiston Elementary School. One of my friends at that time was a Lisa. I think her middle name was Marie Smith. She and I used to walk home every day. And as it turned out, we used to fall behind as Sissy Escobar, who apparently is kin to Pablo Escobar. We would tease her by taking bubblegum. She had very long hair, and we would tease her by taking bubblegum and sticking it in her hair. This went on for probably a week and a half, until one day I was walking by a house that she lived in. It was more than a half a block away from the elementary school, going south on the right-hand side. There was a Hispanic man out on the porch, and he said, you basically you need to leave her alone. And I don't know if I went on at that point or if I was invited into the house. I remember going into that house twice. The first time I was fed a Cuban rice dish, which I had, my family had grown up next to the Delgados, which Popeye, who was part of the cartel in later years. His actual name is Ernesto Delgado. We grew up next door to them, and my parents were very friendly with their parents. It was a very amicable relationship. So I wasn't uncomfortable going into the house. I wasn't uncomfortable eating the Spanish food. I ate the first day, and it was very delicious, and I left. The next day, or within the next 2 days, I believe, I was walking by the house again, and the same man was standing out on the porch. He was cooking once again, and so I invited myself in. To the best of my knowledge, I think I invited myself in. I went into the dining room once again. I was given a plate of rice, and this time when I tasted it, it was extremely spicy. Just didn't like it. And I laid my fork down and told him I didn't like it. And at that point, he got very angry, and he snatched me up and he took me into the restroom. I was molested in that bathroom. And he had bubblegum in his mouth, and during this time I was told to chew the gum, pass it back to him. He would chew the gum, pass it back to me. And so the whole time that this was going on, he was, I guess, making his point about the bubblegum. Afterwards, he left the bathroom, and I tried to leave. I tried to pull the door, and he was on the other side, and he wouldn't let me out. I remember being in the tub and screaming for help. I think finally another elementary school kid finally came by, and I never got any help. Somehow I got out of the house. I think it might have been through the bathroom wall. I went to the elementary school, to the receptionist, and was crying. The sheriff's department was called, and that's when Sermon Dice came into the picture. I was taken home, and apparently he had discussed with my parents the possibility of pressing charges, and told them it was not a good idea because I would have to relive everything that happened in a court of law. And his solution was to take all of the Hispanics who were living in the town and force them out of city limits. This is when they were forced into areas such as Montura Ranch, and there's another little town in between South Bay and Clewiston, Lake Haven, Lake Porter, or something. I can't remember what the name of it is. So, to the best of my knowledge, all of the Hispanics were thrown out of Clewiston at this time. I would, from that point forward, not take the same route. I refused to go walk in front of the house, and I did this for about a week. Instead of going to the south, towards the highway, I would go to the east towards the lake and then cut through from there. About a week later, Sermon Dias came up in his patrol car and he says, "Nancy, quit avoiding the house because he's no longer there. You have nothing more to be afraid of." I kept on for a couple of days, and then he kept coming by and saying, "You need to, you need to stop being afraid. Go in front of the house. Walk the same route that you used to walk. Do not be afraid." So I did for about a day or two. And the next thing I know, I was with Sermon Dias Jr. again. This time I was taken out to Montura. Sermon Dias Jr. is a child molester, which is something he shared with, I'm going to assume, Pablo. I really am not certain who that man was. The only thing I do know is that he was kin to Sissy Escobar. I was taken out to Montura, shared not with the same man, but with another Hispanic man, which you'll see him in pictures of what became known as the Cali Cartel. He supposedly was one of the leaders of the Cali Cartel in 1990, but he was, to the best of my knowledge, dead long before 1990. This is the fabrication that they have centered around this Medellin cartel. There's so many lies. It's like, unless you really know, it's hard to sort everything out. So I was shared with that man and Sermon Dias Jr. I was taken back out to the living room. These guys were discussing, they were just talking. I remember looking at the man and sticking my tongue out at him, and I was chastised by Sermon Dias Jr. for doing so. And I backed up in the back of the couch where Sermon couldn't see me and did it again. At some point I was taken home. So it may have been, and I'm almost certain, this would have been the first time that Sermon Dias Jr. came in contact with what was known as the Medellin cartel.